Snowboarding today is a well-developed sport with its own specialized equipment, styles, cultures, and competitions. However, it was not always like this. Snowboarding can trace its roots back to 1929 and MJ Jack Bruchette. Bruchette was one of the first known persons to start experimenting with snowboards. Back then, his first prototype was just a plank of plywood with clotheslines and horse rind bindings. It wasn't for another 30 years until snowboarding would make any more major developments. 1963, Tom Sims, a 7th grader in his wood shop at his middle school, wanted a way to continue skateboarding during the winter months. One of his first inventions was a round plank of pine with a nose kick in front and carpet on top to provide the much-needed traction for his feet. Underneath, he provided aluminum and candle wax, which would supply the gliding action needed to go across snow. 1965 saw the commercial uprising of snowboarding with the Snurfer. Sherman Poppins, a frustrated father, was trying to get his kids to play more during the winter months. So he then took 2 children's skis, bolted them together, and tied a rope to them for extra balance. He called it the Snurfer, hence the name coming from surfing on snow. He then gave his new invention to his children as a Christmas present. Soon after, all the local neighborhood children were coming up to his door wanting the same gift that he had made for his children. 6 months later, the Snurfer was patented and manufactured. Over the next few years, the Snurfer sold over 1 million units. But as quickly as the Snurfer came, it went with advancements in board technology that were brought on by the modern snowboarding movement that all started in 1977. At this time, snowboarding legends like Dmitry Milivak, Tom Sims, Mike Olson, who would later go on to start GNU snowboards, and Jake Burton Carpenter all began to produce their own snowboards. Tom Sims was one of the first people to start using fiberglass as a base for snowboards, and the first person to start using metal edges for snowboards, which would become a standard for snowboards today. Nowadays, snowboards are vastly different from their early counterparts. Snowboarding also has 4 uniques, about 4 styles that I would like to elaborate on. First style I'd like to elaborate on is cruising. Cruising is like your recreational snowboarding that you do at a resort, going down trails and things like that. Another type of snowboarding you might see at a resort is freestyle snowboarding, or snowboarding that goes well in the terrain part, which is doing jumps and tricks. This is where snowboarding gets its most historical roots from skateboarding. Another style of snowboarding is backcountry snowboarding. This is one of the most dangerous types of snowboarding because you're literally out alone snowboarding in the wilderness. Through trees, you have risk of avalanches and other things such like that. These are most of the incidents that you hear about in the news where people are getting rescued or skiers or snowboarders are dying in avalanches. The last type of style of snowboarding I talk about is racing. Racing is becoming more and more popular these days, especially with new styles or competition snowboarding like snowboard cross. Now, before you go out on the slopes, you'll need some basic necessities. Snowboarding requires a lot of gear, and one of the first things you need to get is a snowboard. Picking the right snowboard is crucial, and it goes according to your weight and height. A wrong-sized snowboard can greatly increase your risk of injury. A snowboard that is correctly sized will have your toes having slightly over the top, which will allow you to provide pressure to your ankles and your feet. Like I said earlier, a board's width directly corresponds with a person's height and weight. A good rule of thumb is that a board should come up to about your chin height when standing straight up. As far as a board's width goes, generally there's just a normal size for board widths. People with larger feet, they do make bigger board sizes. When sized correctly, like I said earlier, your feet will hang over slightly over the edges, and it'll allow you to provide more pressure movements. That allows you to turn. Now that you have your board, another thing you have to figure out is your stance. Are you goofy-footed or are you regular-footed? A regular-footed person leads with their left foot, while a goofy-footed person leads with their right foot. Picking your stance as goofy or regular doesn't just stop there. You can also adjust the angle at which your feet set on your bindings, as you can see here. I personally like to have my front foot set at a plus 15 degree setting, and my back foot at a negative 5 degree setting. But everyone is different, so experiment with what works best for you. The last thing that you might want to pick up for your snowboard is a stomp pad. As you can see down here, a stomp pad is a rubber track that you put on the bottom of one of your snowboards to provide extra traction on flat ground when you're pushing around like they're on ski lifts. Now I'd like to talk about other equipment that you would also need for snowboarding. One of the basic things you need for snowboarding is snowboarding boots. And they come in many different sizes and fits, but they're all different by brands. There's also two main lacing systems, and as you can see in my boot, I have a different sort of lacing system that is more different than traditional regular laces. This system I like way better, and it's easy to use. You just click forward and tighten, twist to tighten your boots. Very much more effective, I think, than traditional boots. Another thing you would like to pick up is goggles. Trust me, when you're snowboarding, nobody likes getting hit with snow or ice from snow machines in their face while riding on a mountain. It's very painful and uncomfortable. But one of the things you want to make sure when you are buying goggles is what kind of riding you're doing the most. If you're going to be doing riding during the day, I suggest you get a pair like this, which has shade-tinted lenses to block UV light out. You also want to make sure that the peripherals are also very good, because you want to watch out for other riders as you're going down, and you need that extra peripheral vision. Another thing you want to make sure is that your goggles are anti-fog. Trust me, no one likes going down when your goggles fog up and you can't see. That also increases your risk for injury. Next, you want to pick up a helmet. Helmets aren't only a safety necessity for beginners, but also for any rider of any expertise. They come in many options and colors, and there are also accessories. On my helmet, I actually have speakers inside of it built in. Next, I'd like to talk about snowboarding clothing. There are many varieties of jackets that are either heavy, insulated, or light, depending on your weather preference. One such jacket right here would be like a heavy jacket right here. These are very waterproof and have many waterproof ratings. They come in many different pockets to hold things like your ID and your lift tickets. Snowboarding pants are also very crucial, and these also need to be waterproof. Nobody likes getting water tucked down into their pants or even down into your socks. The last clothing item you'll need is either mittens or gloves, and these also need to be very waterproof or warm. Leaving your hands exposed on the mountain is not good, which leaves them open to frostbite and other injuries. Now you might be wondering how expensive all this equipment may be, and it is, as you might guess, very expensive. Boards can range anywhere between $200 to even $600 just for a board. That's not to mention paying for bindings, which can cost anywhere to $800 to $200, or boots, which cost anywhere from $100 to $200. All this can be very discouraging and intimidating for first-time riders trying to get into the sport. But don't worry, every resort nowadays has rentals where you can rent equipment like boots, boards, and other clothing options. And if you attend college like myself, I have some good news. Bringing a student ID to most places will get you a discounted lift ticket and discounted rentals. Snowboarding is a winter sport that promotes interest in outdoors, gives intense workouts, and almost anyone can pick up with a little practice. But patience is key, because no matter what you do, you will fall. Falling is a part of snowboarding, and I myself have fallen many times in my 4+ years of experience. I have even made a couple of trips to ER because of snowboard-related injuries. The workout you get after a day on the slopes is like no other. You don't have to shred like a pro to burn a lot of calories in snowboarding. In fact, the average casual snowboarder can burn anywhere to 250 to 600 calories an hour. Snowboarding also works out all your major muscle groups, especially your core. And people who snowboard over time greatly improve their flexibility and balance, as snowboard constantly requires changes of pace and direction. Snowboarding as a sport is always progressing, whether it's with new styles, tricks, or advancements in gear. In fact, at this year's past Winter Olympics, a brand new snowboarding event was introduced called Snowboard Cross. Though relatively new as a sport, snowboarding has an intriguing history and a vibrant culture. The sky is the limit with this sport. Thank you.